When a reality TV Scott discovers in a diner near the hospice where his father has in place, his life has reached a low point. But let me ask you this. What in the world are we talking about? Can you really believe everything you see on TV? Can you believe everything you see in life? Coming up next, right here on The Right Stuff. Stay tuned. You are listening to the best, the only place to be on Tuesday night. That's right, you're listening to The Right Stuff, and you're at the right place at the right time. From England to Canada, from Detroit to the Poconos, we are showcasing Christian authors worldwide, giving you tips, tools, techniques, and resources for you, the writer, to hone and perfect your craft. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time right here on WPJC 104.5. And your host, Parker J. Cole. Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Right Stuff. I am your host, Parker J., and I am so excited you're here with me. We are going to be talking to my new friend, my guest co-host and contributor today, Thomas Alba. He is the author of Apocalypse TV. And let me tell you, don't question everything. Question any and everything. And I can't wait to delve into his book. So if you want to join in the conversation, make sure you call in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air. I want to thank you all for your support of the show and for my writing career as well. You know, some of you know I have been down a little bit with some personal issues, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me and praying for me. I really do. One of the things I am thankful for is to get ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you. Through the ups and the downs, you've always been with me. And it's so reminiscent of how the Lord is always with us as well, that he will never leave us or forsake us. No matter how bad it gets, we are not alone. And one of the things that I wanted to say to you was happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy your families. I hope you enjoy your friends, the food. I hope you enjoy everything. And you know what? Give God praise for no matter what's going on in your life. Give God praise because he is still good. He is still great. He is still gracious. So I'm thankful to the Lord for giving me this show. I've been doing this show now. Next year will be 5 years. And, you know, when I first started doing the show, I had no idea I'd be going on this long. I had no idea of the relationships I would make, the impact that the show would make. But I'm starting to see how this show is so unique to Christian authors who want a platform to talk about their books. And I don't think there's a lot of shows out here like that. And because I showcase so many Christian authors from different genres, I am so thankful to be part of that platform building for you as an author. And like I always say, if you want to be on this show, you know where to find me. You can find me online. You can go to my website. You can email me. I'm here to help out. Again, if you want to weigh in on our topic, you can by calling in 646-668-8485 and then press that 1 to be live on air. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Are you a reader looking for more compelling Christian fiction? Maybe something a little more edgy or a bit more real? Are you tired of most Christian fiction shying away from the truth and settling for a rose-tinted view of the world and its issues? Or are you an author who has a compelling story to tell, but you're afraid it doesn't jive with today's brand of Christian or secular fiction? Are you tired of Christian publishers telling you that your content is too edgy? Or maybe you've tried submitting your content under the radar to secular publishers only to be told your themes are a bit too religious? We invite you to take a look at the Crossover Alliance. We are an online publishing company that specializes in edgy Christian speculative fiction with Christian themes and real-world content. Our company is formed from authors and readers just like you who are breaking into the mainstream and Christian markets with this compelling genre. Head over to the www.thecrossoveralliance.com for all the details on who we are, what we do, and what we accept. Right now, if you sign up for our email newsletter, you'll receive a free digital copy of our first short story anthology. Check us out today and help us spread the word about the Crossover Alliance, where light shines brighter in the darkness.
Question: if you write a book, everybody will rush out to buy it. Obvious answer, no. If you were a celebrity or if you had a huge marketing budget, then maybe you can get a lot of exposure for your book. Another solution would be to check out joeytweets.com. JoeyTweets.com is a promotion and marketing service with access to over 1/3 followers on Twitter. JoeyTweets.com has 3 packages available to fit any budget. That's JoeyTweets.com. JoeyTweets.com. Get some serious exposure for your books.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff. Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WTJC 104.5. Again, I am so glad you are here with me today to join in on the discussion. I'm talking today to my guest co-host and contributor today, Thomas Alba. He is the author of the book Apocalypse TV, and I cannot wait to get into this topic. So what I want you to do, if you're listening in, you can call in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air, or hit me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #RightStuff, with your questions and comments. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest co-host and contributor today, Thomas. Thomas, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Parker. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And it's good to have you here, too. You know, I remember when we met at the Southern California Christian Writers Conference, and it was just so cool to meet because we were both Alexio authors. We're both Alexio authors, and just to meet another Alexio author in the wild is kind of cool. So I want to definitely give a shout-out to Alexio Publishing, Chris and Jess. I want to give a shout-out to you for just getting together great authors, and I thought that was kind of cool. Didn't you, Thomas?
I did. I was just thinking about that last summer, Parker. It was so cool to connect with another Alexio author.
And especially so far away, because I was in California. I had never been to California before in my life. And the one thing I don't miss is the heat. I don't miss the heat out there at all. I melted when I was out there. I lost a ton of weight, and I melted, and I tanned very nicely. I looked like a little chipmunk. I was so dark. I was just like, oh, my goodness. It was hot out there, but I enjoyed meeting all those authors out there. And I got to tell you, Thomas, I don't know how you're going to take this, but I totally love your author picture. To me, you look like Sean Connery. I looked at your picture, the professional picture you sent me. You look like Sean Connery. Has anyone ever told you that?
No one has ever told me that. That's going into my scrapbook. I have to give a shout-out, though, Parker. My brother-in-law, Timothy Fielding, he's a photographer out here in Hollywood, and he's the one who brought Sean Connery out of me, so he's quite a photographer. I have to give all of the kudos to him. He's the one.
Well, tell him he's a great photographer, let me tell you, because when I looked at your picture, I said, oh, my goodness, that is a really good picture, you know. And we were both like, sweating up a storm in Cali, you know. So he really captured your inner Sean Connery. He definitely did. I was just like, wow. So just for all the those listening in, Deb, you got to look at it. I just love his picture. It's on everything. When I shared it everywhere, I even told a couple of my friends in my Facebook group, I say, yeah, this is my version of Sean Connery, by the way, and he's a writer. Oh, you know what I mean? So that's how I viewed it, you know. So I know I can go on and on about you being Sean Connery, but I'm sure there's more to you than that. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, to come back down to earth, I grew up in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, far away from Scotland and Sean Connery and so forth. But mostly at my core, I've always been sort of an introvert, and I sort of learned to speak in front of people by going into teaching, believe it or not. I didn't start out like many teachers do as an extrovert. I had to actually get over my shyness. So now I'm a college writing professor who was really once just a moody teen who sat in his room writing poems and stories and reading a lot of fantasy and stuff, playing guitar. I love the guitar, but in grad school when I got there, teaching started to feel like a kind of a higher calling to me, and then I became a Christian and I kind of threw myself into it. And today I love both teaching and writing. I'm not sure if Sean Connery teaches, and I'm not sure if I could pull that off and get away with looking like him in a classroom. But at any rate, teaching and writing seem to feed each other. And today my wife is a classically trained musician. She plays the clarinet and she plays in public, and I'm happy with that. I don't have to play guitar with people.
I like how you said it. My wife does it. I was just listening to some classical music yesterday. I put on my Facebook. I was listening to the Red Violin, the score from the Red Violin. It was absolutely phenomenal.
That's a beautiful score.
Oh, it's a gorgeous
it's a beautiful
score. And just the violinist who was playing the lead in the concerto, she was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's on YouTube for those of you who are listening in. You want to check out something. I know this is totally off the subject, but Sue said classical, and and plays clarinet. That came to mind because it was an absolutely beautiful concerto. But so what I want to do is kind of dig into who Tom is. So go ahead and tell us, how long have you been a writer?
Oh, that's a really good question. It depends on, I think, what we mean by that. I mean, if someone is a writer is just someone who simply writes, then I guess always. But I think when I was in fourth grade, I started to get interested in writing. I read Tom Sawyer and I listened to Bill Cosby records. This was the early '60s, and I started to write my own toboggan stories, autobiographical stories. They were really silly. But I think I wanted to be a writer then, and my fourth grade teacher encouraged me. But I think I started to really get a little serious about it in college when I don't know if this is the same for you, Parker. I don't know what your journey is. I'd be interested in hearing your journey as well. But I got into college, and I had a creative writing course with a novelist who, and he said some things about observing that writers pay attention to people and they pay attention to situations, and he got us listening to how people say things so that we could write dialogue, and he got us reading to see how the writers he liked used language and how they avoided cliches and cliched situations, and I'd written a story for him where, the character goes through all these horrible things, and just as he's about to die, he wakes up from a dream. I mean, that's a cliched situation if ever there was one. But I think I could point to that college class for the start of me really thinking like a writer and being a writer. So that was probably it.
I think writers all have some shared commonality, and that is the fact that writers are actually very good observers of people. Now, I am not an introvert by any form of the word. I'm not an introvert by any form of the word. I think you saw me at the conference. I can run around and joke around with the best of them, And so my sisters would say I have no filter. Depending on what it is, I have no filter. So it depends on what it is. But, but writers do observe people. I know for myself, just being a writer, I find people quite fascinating. I think people each have their own stories, I think if we look at each other, we'll find a book and we'll turn the pages of that book. And the more you turn the pages, just that person's personality, their traits, the things they like, why they like, I think it's more and more fascinating. And so that's why I always like those memes and those writers that said, be careful, you may end up in my story. I love those memes and those things that come out there. And so you told us a little bit about what your journey to writing looked like, because you was always doing it. If that's just writing, you're always doing it. But so the type of books you like to read, you kind of mentioned that you like speculative fiction and fantasy and stuff like that. But you also teach about writing too. So I'm assuming that you also read about the craft of writing as well, wouldn't you say?
That's right. I do. And there's some good writers on craft. I do. And there's a writer named Philip Lopate who's especially good about writing nonfiction, and James Woods and people like that. But I have to say that I haven't been able to. This is maybe a confession, Parker. I don't know, but I loved sci-fi and fantasy in high school. But since then, I don't seem to be able to read it anymore. I love to see the movies. I love fantasy and mystery films. I love them as movies, but you know how movies and books are different experiences, And
right.
So with the books, I guess I've become, I don't know, I've gotten a little more interested in the language and in the characters. And if the character is really interesting, it almost doesn't matter what the genre is. I will read it. If the character, if I'm made to care about the character and the language used on page one, I'll keep going. So.
Well, no, I think it's just, reading. Well, we all start with the kind of books we like to read. To be quite frank, when I grew up after, my childhood years, I started reading Stephen King. And I knew my mom didn't want me to read him, so I would sneak and read Stephen King. So actually my first love after childhood books would be horror. I actually liked horror. And then when I turned around 14, I got into romance. Yeah. Then I got into romance. And so now, kind of I know it's kind of weird, right? Like, wow, horror, right? But not I always say this, not the gory, cut someone up and throw them against the wall and, do something weird like that, but just like the way horror can really peel back the veil of the human condition. I think horror is a wonderful genre that shows that, especially for some of the authors I've had on the show who write Christian horror. They're able to really show how the human condition really needs God. I recently had a horror author on the show, and he wrote a book called The Road to Hell. And that was a horror book, but it was all leading toward God. And some people, they're thrown off when you say Christian horror. Like, well, you have to read it first. So, I totally get you there, And I like how you say, now you kind of want to, it kind of reflects almost your personality a little bit, Tom, because if the person's interesting, then it doesn't matter what their backstory is. This person's interesting. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly
it's fascinating.
True. Yeah. And there's some good Christian horror now, isn't there? There's some good. I never would have thought that, but there really is some good horror being written by Christian authors.
Yeah, and it's not all gore. A lot of people wouldn't, because I think we're using torture as a form of horror, and that's not horror. Horror is really about the human condition. It's all about damage control. It's all about survival. It's all about basic. The base of humanity. That's what it's about. So that's why I enjoy the genre. And I actually think with, like, for example, like with Stephen King, people say, well, he's creepy, but I say, I think he's just over the time. He just recognizes what horror is. That's why he's such a master at it, And so we're talking today to Thomas Alba. He is the author of Apocalypse TV. And what I want you to do, if you want to weigh in on our conversation, make sure you do by calling in at 646-668-8485 and then press that 1 to be live on air, or hit me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #RightStuff with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take another quick break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
If you are an author looking to gain visibility for your books, then AuthorShout.com is the place to go. We have a wide variety of affordable products and services to include a member zone that will help you get the word out about your books. Our team here at AuthorShout.com specializes in creating stunning digital products to include book banners, teaser videos, book trailers, book covers, and a whole lot more. So what are you waiting for? Stop by AuthorShout.com today and let our team connect you with a world of new readers.
Have you read the latest issue of SORMAG Digital, the award-winning literary magazine for multicultural readers and writers? SORMAG Digital is available quarterly and showcases interviews with the best authors in multicultural literature. SORMAG Digital features craft and business articles for those interested in writing. If you're looking for a good book, check out our book reviews on what's hot in multicultural literature. For writers looking for new readers to get in front of, SORMAG Digital is the perfect place to introduce your book. We offer advertising spaces that fit your promotional budget. Get your free subscription on SORMAG.com or order a print issue on MagCloud.com. If you would like more information about SORMAG Digital, check us out on SORMAG.com or contact us at SORMAG@yahoo.com. SORMAG Digital is the magazine for multicultural readers and writers.
Engaging the culture's imagination through speculative fiction, the Untold Podcast produces audio fiction from a Christian worldview. Find us over at UntoldPodcast.com, where we partner with authors to tell science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, and horror stories. Find links at UntoldPodcast.com to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, and a variety of other platforms. Each month we produce high-quality audio fiction that's free to download and free to listen. Our submissions are open, and we're always looking to add another great story to over 24 hours of narrative entertainment. Find all of our audio fiction over at www.untoldpodcast.com.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff. Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WPJC 104.5. Again, so glad you are here with me. As we talk to my guest co-host and contributor today, Tom Alba. He is the author of the book Apocalypse TV, and I cannot wait to delve into his book. And Tom, thank you for being with me on the show once again. We do have a caller calling in. We have Joseph from Azusa calling in. Joseph, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thanks. I'm enjoying your show.
And I know you had a question or a comment for Tom, so go ahead and talk to Tom.
Tom, I was wondering if you could tell us how many drafts did this novel go through, and did you ever feel like giving up?
Hi, Jill. That's an interesting question. I went through 5 drafts, depending upon how you count drafts on this. And I did think about giving up. In fact, after the 4th draft, about a year and a half ago, I put it on the shelf, and then a student I was working with asked to read it and gave me a few ideas and got my interest up in it again and said he thought that it was worth pursuing. So I wrote a 5th draft, and that's the draft that Lectio Publishers liked and picked up. So yeah, that was a long process. I think I learned a lot about novel writing as I wrote this book. Thank you for the question, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate that. And we do have another caller calling in. Caller, how are you doing today?
Hello. Am I on the air?
Yes, you're on the air with Parker and Thomas. Did you have a question or comment for us?
Yes, I do. I am just a little ways into your book, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities between what you've talked about, your inspirations being, and your personality and your main character. Did you draw a lot on personal experience when you were writing him?
Oh, that's a question I've been thinking about lately, and I think a lot of what I drew from was not consciously drawn from me. I think I knew that I purposely made Walter a rather large guy, and I'm Parker, as you remember, I'm rather short. but I did make him bumbling, and not bumbling, but kind of cautious and questioning, and that's a lot like me. And the first chapters of the book, where his father is dying, some of that is quite autobiographical. But beyond that, I kind of even got away from trying to write from my own life too much. Although I suppose that authors are always in some way channeling what's happening to them into fiction. I suppose it's inevitable. Don't you think, Parker? I don't know.
I think so. I think so. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even though I am a college professor and Walter is, I think I tried to draw on some of that just to make it seem to have realism. But most of what happens to him at his school has never happened to me. I teach at a good school, so yeah. Thank you for that question.
Finished.
Thank you so much, caller, for calling in. And if you want to continue the conversation with Tom, you certainly can by calling in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air. We have another caller calling in. We have Joe calling in from Detroit, Michigan. Joe, how are you doing today?
Fine. How are you?
Hi. Do you have a question or comment for our guest?
Yes. I see that the book is about reality TV. Does that mean you don't like reality TV?
Oh gosh, I've been afraid of making this confession. I have to admit that I do not like reality TV, and I
Why?
Well, I have never been able to sit through an entire episode. I've tried. I tried to watch Survivor when it first came out and couldn't quite get through it. One of the reasons I didn't like it was because it claimed to be reality and these people are being real in themselves, and I sort of saw evidence of a lot of editing and a lot of constructing and a lot of fakeness to it. But that's I've never thought that reality TV is from the devil himself. I've never thought that at all. I just have never cared for it myself. But when I wrote the reality TV show, though, I had to get over my own biases and try to convey it as something that a lot of people were going through, and I had to not look down on it, I guess. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Sure. Not everybody likes reality TV. I was just curious. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Jill, thank you so much for calling in. To our listeners listening, if you want to call in, you can. Call in 646-668-8485. Press that 1, or simply Tweet me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #WriteStuff with your question and comment. Tom, one thing that you mentioned about reality TV is such a major source of entertainment for so many people. And at first, when reality TV really blew up, I'm not sure what show did it. It was probably was it Paris Hilton's show? I can't remember, but it was like that was what made it get bigger, I think. I don't know, And then I got into it because I like the cooking competitions. I love the cooking competitions because they have really great food on there. And then I also liked some of the survival shows. Like I enjoyed the one show, The Colony, where they have you do a experiment where you're locked into this colony into some kind of disaster situation. I did like that show. But like you said, there's a whole lot of editing to it because it's not going to work if, they have to edit it, and it's not going to work if you're not entertained. So it's not really reality then, is it, So
not really.
I enjoy that. And so it gets me to my next question, because some of our callers, and I'm glad our callers are calling in, some of our callers already kind of asked some of the questions I was going to ask anyway. Were you going to say something, Tom? I don't want to overtalk you.
No, just I think what you're saying about reality TV, it almost makes it sound like it's bad fiction, doesn't it? If they have to construct it. And anyway, that's me as a fiction writer looking down on it. So.
Oh no, not at all. We all have our cross to bear. No, I'm joking. Just joking. Some of us hate reality TV. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
No. So that brings me to my question about how you came up with the idea for Apocalypse TV, because you have reality TV, now you have Apocalypse TV. And so the first thing anyone listening in is going to say, okay, Apocalypse TV, what are we all watching the apocalypse while we're on another planet? First thing comes to mind, so go ahead. Like, wow, that planet sucks. They're going down. Have like, well, that'd be a good story, wouldn't it? Be a good story. A bunch of viewers watching planets explode, and then they have to decide they could save one of the planets that are inhabited. That'd be a good one. But no, so tell us how you came up with the idea of Apocalypse TV.
Yeah, well, the first thing that happened to me was Walter as a character. I started writing him in, and I really liked him. The reality TV show came in after I was asked to be part of a filming for a teaching video at my university, and I realized as I was doing this interview that that was the interview I was aware of, the one where I was actually saying things fully and developing my thoughts and explaining things. And then there was the actual interview I saw after it was edited, and basically nothing I said got through, just a couple of lines that this film editor thought fit her idea of her story she was telling. And I felt kind of used in a way, that things I said that meant something different in the context I was saying them got taken out of context and put into her story. And I started to think about Walter going through that, and what would happen if Walter were, he thinks he's doing this wonderful thing on this reality show, that he's reaching people for Christ, and he's doing all these great things, but he's really being turned into a buffoon on the show, and he's being shown to be the kind of the butt of all the jokes on the show, and then the idea of apocalypse kind of came in last, like. The caller asked earlier about drafts. I think it was about draft 3 or 4 where I had this sudden idea that these people on this reality show were traveling around America and getting people's ideas and attitudes about what they thought about the apocalypse and whether or not the world would end soon or later, or when it would end, and what were Christian ideas about that. And I started weaving that into it. That came, my sons a couple of years ago got really tired of these, I guess we would call post-apocalyptic films that had come out with teenagers, and where teens have to forge an identity in a post-apocalyptic world where they can't get water and there's no lighting, and the adults are far away, and it's just in the heartbrain. These post-apocalyptic films and books, and they got tired of them and stopped watching them. And I started to think, well, what if we, started thinking about where we are now, where we still have water and lights, and we still have a government that's sort of pretty functional, and we can do our jobs. And I started to think about it as sort of a show about the ideas before they happen, I guess. And one of the kind of the initial shows that gave me this idea was a British reality TV show that aired about 10 years ago, and I can't remember the name, but in the show, these Anglicans walked around London trying to convert people and get them into church. And I thought, well, what an interesting reality show. The British, at least, are still thinking about Christianity and religion. And I thought, what if that happened here in America? What would that be like? And so it started out as a religious reality show, and it kind of moved into the extreme of thinking about the apocalypse, which, Walter is always quick to tell people, apocalypse, everyone thinks means a big explosion, some world-wrecking natural disaster, so that we no longer have what we enjoy now. But what apocalypse means in the New Testament is simply the pulling away of a veil, or the revelation, as it's called in the book attributed to John, the revelation or the revealing. So anyway, all those ideas get played with in this, and so it's more a novel about people's ideas and what makes them tick with them, and what happens to Walter on this reality show that's kind of sort of being made up as it goes along a little bit. I don't know if that's satisfying for readers, but
No, it's fascinating because you really pull at a lot of different things, especially when you talked about the apocalyptic dystopian genre. I mean, some of these kids have no parents. Like, these parents are just idiots. I mean, no one can help. No parent can help. All the adults are just idiots. I said, and I remember thinking, and that's why, for me, I can't get into YA. I just can't get into it because I'm like, you want to have an exciting life, pay a bill. You know what I mean? Figure out how you're going to pay your mortgage, Forget about the vampires, what I'm saying? Deal with your boss who makes you mad or something, Come back to me after that, But that's me. So that's just how I feel. I think that's why I enjoy that show on Netflix called Stranger Things. I think that's why I enjoy it because there are 3 different groups that appeal to everybody. You have the young group, you have the high schoolers, and you have the adults, all of them combining, and no one's just completely oblivious. You know what I mean? The adults aren't completely oblivious.
That's right.
And the kids aren't all knowing, And so that's why I think I like Stranger Things. I love that show. And so we're talking to Thomas Alba, and he's talking about his book, Apocalypse TV. And so what happens when you're on a reality show that, first of all, twists who you are, twists your words, and then you can't believe anything you're being said. But get this, you're the one who's on the show. So we're talking about Apocalypse TV with Thomas Alba. If you want to weigh in on our topic, please do call in at 646-668-8485, and then press that 1 to be live on air, or hit me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #right stuff with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take another break. We will be right back.
The Speculative Fiction Cantina is your weekly hypodermic injection of science fiction, fantasy, horror, alternate history, and things weird and wonderful in the world of books and writers. You'll hear from writers who bend the rules and drive the narrative. We ask authors the hard questions. We do the show in our pajamas. Join S. Evan Townsend on this journey over the rainbow and through the looking glass. The Speculative Fiction Cantina on Rightstream Radio every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
God gives humans the gift of making amazing stories to glorify Him. At SpeculativeFaith.com, our ministry is to help fans explore fantasy, science fiction, supernatural stories, and beyond from an intentional and biblical Christian perspective. We share daily articles and have extensive archives tackling hot topics like end times beliefs, the art of writing, creative excellence in the Christian subcultures, discernment, sex, magic, Harry Potter, and space aliens and the Bible.
If you are a parent or anyone else with a discriminating palate, our reviewers explore fantastical novels, movies, television, and games in light of God's beauty, goodness, and truth. Want to find Christian stories? The Spec Faith Library lists every fantastical novel we can find from a Christian author. It's all part of our mission to discern, engage, and enjoy fantastical human creativity in honor of our Creator, Jesus Christ. SpeculativeFaith.com, exploring fantastical stories for God's glory.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff. Hi, and welcome back. Welcome back. We are talking to my guest co-host and contributor today, Thomas Alba, on The Right Stuff. And let me tell you, I'm having such a good time with him as we talk about his new book, his debut fiction novel, Apocalypse TV. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to love on my brother today and go ahead and buy a copy of his book. He is a fellow Alexio author, which Alexio Publishing publishes great Christian works from all over, from various genres. They were one of the ones, for those of you who remember when I first started the show, I had shopped my first book around with everybody, and when I got the email from Alexio, it was a life-changing thing because I couldn't believe someone had actually said yes, and they said yes twice more to my Sins of the Flesh series. And so I want to thank Alexio for publishing me and publishing Thomas, because you're going to get great books. So go ahead, go to Thomas's book, Apocalypse TV. It's available on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Go ahead and get a copy. Make sure you do this, and I tell you this all the time. Leave a review. Reviews help us to know that we did what we said we wanted to do. And if we didn't, we want to know about that too, because how can we get better if we don't know about it? So make sure you love my brother today and get a copy of his book, Apocalypse TV. You know something, Thomas, I got to ask you, because when you're so involved in your own work, you do get kind of so ingrained into what's going on. So go ahead and tell us, who are your favorite characters in Apocalypse TV?
Yes, I first love Walter and his older sister, Melissa. It really, you're right, we get so wrapped up in our own work and we don't always see clearly, but these were two characters I loved getting to know and just being with and around and you know, hearing them talk. Melissa is a fun character. I love her dialogue. I love the way she confronts Walter and makes fun of him. She's quite a bit older than him. And I also, I guess as a reader, I'm drawn to minor characters as well. And so a couple of minor characters in the book interested me. There's an FBI agent who comes to life after the middle of the book when the show is being investigated, and he just comes along with I think, a pretty good tone. He seems worldly and seasoned, and he loves music. He talks about Russian composer Shostakovich and loves to talk to academics like Walter, even as he's questioning everything and questioning Walter. And then there's a camera guy named Bob, and he kind of in an early draft had a larger role, but in the final draft he kind of is mostly behind the scenes as a camera guy. And one of my themes in this book is the theme of identity and self-deception, I think, and how we hide from ourselves. And he kind of comes forward toward the end of the book as in an interesting way, kind of coming in from the margins as a cameraman, and becomes more involved in the final resolution of the story. And he comes in disguised and to help expose some of the deception. One of the things I think about reality shows is that there's a lot of what's called dissembling, a lot of hiding and deception that goes on, and he puts a disguise on and helps to expose all of that. There's one more character I like. Her name is Brittany, and she started out in an early draft just as a woman in her early 30s who had kind of lost her job in the real estate boom, kind of the real estate default and dropping in 2008, and she kind of deepened and took on real spiritual depth. I really like her. I hope it's okay to have 5 characters that I think are my favorites when I wrote the book. I hope that's okay.
Oh, I think every single character I have is my favorite, and it's difficult to put your character in my head to swing paper. That's what I always say with my characters. And I don't know, where do you see? I get my ideas, and everyone laughs at me when I say this. I just get my ideas. I don't have to be in there, but I always get my ideas when I go to the restroom. I always get my ideas. I don't have to be in there doing anything. For those of you who are saying, Parker, really? I'm just saying, but I usually get my ideas in there. And what I'll do, I'll look into the mirror, and the character I'm thinking of will talk to me, not like in a creepy way. Just saying, like I'll look at them and I'll look in the mirror and I'll go, I don't know, something, just just something, and the characters start to speak to me. So they're all in our head, and we all love them because I think in a way maybe each character is a personification of some trait of ourselves. Maybe we're not, or maybe even a desire of ourselves. I noticed how you said Walter is a big guy. You said, well, you see me, I'm pretty short, and so maybe that hidden desire is there because in Walter you can be tall, big, you could do that. I know for other people, they like to hide their own flaws in other characters that we may be aware of. So it's very interesting how you say you may have 5 characters. I totally agree with you. I can like all of them, to be quite frank with you. Even the ones you love to hate, like I really hate this character, especially if you're an antagonist or something. And so you kind of mentioned that one of the themes you talked about in your book was self-identity. What are some other themes you talk about?
Another theme that a writer friend told me was really strong in it, and I didn't even see this, Parker. This was just there in the book, and I didn't see it as a theme. But it's the question of what we mean when we talk about manhood, I guess, and the idea of guns in American culture. That those two themes are kind of in the book, and I didn't even mean to put them there, but as I was going through the final draft, I really saw that as a case, and I part of me wanted to get rid of it. Like, what do I care about manhood? But no, there it is, and so it's pretty strong in that. I think the question, that we've been talking about since the start of our show, just questioning reality and what is reality and how do we interpret it, and is another theme going through it, as well as questions about the apocalypse and how Christians are interpreting it. The church has historically interpreted the end of the world differently. I mean, at the end of the 17th century, Puritans believed the end of the world was coming in 1700. They believed that, and Walter grew up Catholic, so he doesn't hold a lot of the views that a lot of people in the evangelical churches today hold. But all of these ideas are kind of just allowed to kind of coexist together as themes that are being worked out. And but I think you're absolutely right. I think it's possible to even love our villains, as we're talking about them. Yep.
Oh, for sure. I totally agree with you there. I know one of my characters she's actually a character that I enjoy myself in one of my books, and she's quite villainous. And I enjoy her. I enjoy her spunk. I enjoy the fact that she doesn't care what she has to do to get her objective. She's going to do it. And I like that because some of us won't do anything to reach our objective. Some of us won't take the extra step, and we have to be honest with ourselves. But she will. She doesn't care what she has to do. So and she's villainous, but you have to admire her spunk, and I like that. So I totally feel you when you talk about, some of the characters you love to hate and those characters out there. And I like how you said sometimes these things that we write, they come in under the radar, and then the reader will let you know, wow, you talk a lot about manhood in that book, which is an interesting topic in and of itself. So I love that kind of stuff. I love it. So let me go back to something here. Because we were talking about just reality TV in general. And so just in your opinion, what do you say? What is your opinion about today's media and journalism? Do you think it's almost reality TV with a bunch of commercials or stuff like that? What do you think?
Well, that's that's a good question. I think I wouldn't go so far as to call it reality TV, although some of the places people are getting their news almost seems like it. And, but I think, Parker, I think that today media is really way too driven by business. It doesn't seem like it's driven by the desire to make money and to sensationalize and to, I every day when I'm on my Facebook page, I kind of pass by these memes that, and you can see they're set up just to get a click, because right there, their title and their article leads are just full of misleading kind of accusations, and if I just click on it, then I'll get the full story, and that turns out to be more like reality TV, more like, heroes and villains of reality TV than real news. So I really do think that's a danger, but I have to tell you this, I grew up in a reporter's home. My father was a reporter. He wrote for the Grand Rapids Press, and he was always coming home and shaking his head about how people, he would research a story, and he would do his best to get the facts and do his best just to tell the straight truth, no matter how boring it was, and he was kind of influential in some things, and he was, but he would get tired of the way that people would deny facts and want to read alternative ways of thinking. And but I do think you're right. I think that we're seeing news kind of shape itself around entertainment a lot more, around commercials, around spelling things, and using tropes like heroes and villains. The last three presidents have all, at some point, have all been portrayed as having a Hitler mustache at some point in their administration. We cast them as evil for some reason or other, when they're really just human beings trying to do the best they can with what they have.
It's interesting that you say that, because I have a huge belief that media is has a bias to it. People who's in power, there's biases there, and so. And I remember, when I found out some things, which I will not mention here because I'm not going there, but I found out some things off of, especially in the West, especially U.S. news, there are some things that won't be reported on, because if you were informed, you would make better decisions, but why would you want to inform anyone? And so I remember reading something, and I was shocked. I was like, how come we didn't know about this? Why did I have to get this from the U.K., for goodness sakes, And it was quite interesting. And nowadays, it's like, in order to keep people's attention, you have to sensationalize it, which I think is a disservice. I mean, there is something to just sticking to the facts. There really is something to that, So I would hate the doctor to dramatize a diagnosis. You know what I mean? We don't want any drama with the diagnosis. I remember when my twin sister last year, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, which was a horrible time for our family. We wanted the facts. We wanted what can happen, what you can do, stuff like that. That's what you wanted. You didn't want any fluff or anything. And nowadays, I think if we take our medical treatments in the same way we take our news, then we wouldn't put up with a lot of stuff that we have. That's why I like your book, Apocalypse TV, where you're like, hey, this guy said one thing and it's being misconstrued in order to what? Sensationalize, get people talking about nothing that really matters, And so that's why I like the fact that you're using medium of reality TV and all these different experiences to bring about a message of faith, to bring out a message of, clarity, because right now confusion is very rampant, and clarity is this multifaceted diamond that we need to search for again. I really and truly believe that. So that's why I'm so excited about your book here. And what has the readers who read the book, what has been their response to Apocalypse TV?
I've been really happy with some of the responses. A lot of people are picking up on the kind of dry humor that's in it. I never liked thinking of. I just try to tell things, but if people get some of the humor in it, I'm very happy. And Parker, this is going to sound like self-promotion, but I can honestly tell you that enough people have told me that Apocalypse TV was for them a page turner. Once they got started, they couldn't. They had to finish it, and I've been really happy with that. And to be honest, when I was writing it, I was thinking, I hope I'm not writing something. You mentioned earlier that Electio publishers are wonderful because they're willing to take on book projects that are, not typically in the Christian market. So when they liked my book, I felt affirmed that I was writing a Christian novel, and I've had people telling me that too. That no, faith is affirmed in this. This is really, and that's been really, really helpful to me. So. And that some of the things I'm writing about resonated with them. So I've been very happy to hear people liking Walter too. So
interesting. Lexio does do that. I remember when we first started with Lexio, they had just kind of started off, and they were looking to be that publisher. They were looking to be that publisher that gets those hidden voices that may not be picked up by the mainstream Christian publishing industry, which I think is quite significant, because one of the things that happened just being on this show, from the numerous authors I've had on the show, is people are looking for more depth to their Christian fiction, whether it's that's why some of them are shying away from some of the sweeter bonnet and Amish stuff. They're shying away from that because they feel as if they need more depth. And for myself, I haven't read an Amish book. I don't know if I would enjoy it because I don't really relate to that. But I know so many people who do. They think this is the prime example of Christian fiction. I'm here to tell you that it isn't. I mean, there are other examples of Christian fiction out there. And your book is on the precipice of that wave that's coming through, where people are looking for different types of Christian fiction in unique ways that can be expressed, that their faith can be expressed. So I commend you for that, and I commend Alexio for picking up the banner of doing that. And so I know that Apocalypse TV isn't the end for you. So go ahead and tell us what some of your other projects are.
Okay, yeah. Right now I'm working on I've got two projects, actually. One is kind of told from the point of view of a teenager who's kind of playing music in a rock band, but I'm just getting started on that. Another project that kind of is my follow-up to Apocalypse TV, I'm calling it Radio Eden. Unlike Apocalypse TV, which is mostly told through Walter's, third person, it's a pretty close point of view, third person. Radio Eden is one that I'm hoping will look through several different multiple points of view, dealing with, there's a pastor who misleads a few of his congregants into looking for Eden itself, and dire consequences kind of follow from that. And then it also, another point of view is from a parent who is working through the loss of a child. And that's a theme that came up around the margins of Apocalypse TV, but this time I'm trying to deal with it a little more directly, but we'll see. But again, this is a project that I can actually think about because of publishers like Lectio, where they are interested in, as you said, more thoughtful, more challenging Christian projects, where writers are, writers not just Christian writers, but they're Christians, and they are writing, and faith is informing what they're doing, but they don't have to do all the usual things. I understand Amish fiction is important, and it's good, but like you, I've never read any of it, and I wouldn't know how to respond to it. I certainly couldn't write it myself. So.
I may actually challenge myself to write an Amish fiction. I may just challenge myself, but it's not in the works anytime soon. Maybe because I want to understand it and get there. But when you said about Eden, you know what came to mind, don't you, Tom? The Star Trek episode from 1969, The Way to Eden. That's the first thing that came to mind. I'm a huge Trekkie. Okay. I'm a psycho fanatic Trekkie. So we have to be very careful because that will that will go really strange there, And then
will. Yeah.
Because I love Star Trek. So I totally love Star Trek, so I had to be calm. And that's I haven't watched Discovery yet, Tom. I want to get into the Discovery. Discovery. I don't. I want to get into it, but I'm not sure because I'm like, personally, if you wanted my opinion, they didn't have to go before Kirk. I don't think they keep going backwards, and I'm thinking to myself, there's enough content in the Star Trek universe to keep moving forward. I'm not sure why they keep going back. I really don't understand the thought process behind that.
I agree, but Discovery is a really good version. I agree. I don't know why they needed to go further back, but the characters on Discovery are very, very well drawn, Parker. I don't know. I'm an old Trekkie too. Not old. I don't mean to say old. You're old, but I'm a Trekkie from way back too. And that one episode you mentioned, that was a good one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that one. Then of course he eats the fruit and die. I said yes, that's classic Gene Roddenberry. Classic Gene Roddenberry there, So go ahead and tell us, because we're getting ready to end our show. So go ahead and tell us what your social media outlets are.
Yes, I am on Twitter. Do you want me to give you the Twitter handle or
yes, please
or
do.
Not? Yeah, it's at Tallbaugh. That's my first initial, T, and then my last name, TALLBAUGH, and then a 1 behind it. I'm on Facebook, and I just started Instagram as well. And on Instagram, I'm Thomas Albaugh, I think. And I also have a newsletter. And if you want to join that, you can go to my website, which is thomasalbaugh.com, and Thomas Albaugh is all one word. And I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to sign you up for my newsletter.
You know, we did get.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Social media. I'm not sure if I want to join Pinterest yet or not. If I should, do you think is that proven?
You know, think about Pinterest. I think it's a huge waste of time for me. I cannot get into it. I don't even get it. I have Pinterest, but I've only used it maybe twice. That's me, but please, I know some authors, they use it to generate ideas. They look at different pictures to help them with their character building, stuff like that. I just see it as a massive waste of time. But hey, you know, you may have, I don't have Instagram. And my sisters are like, you know, Parker, get Instagram. I'm like, but why? You know, so I can't, you know. You're talking to them. I got Facebook and I got Twitter. Let's rock those. You know what I mean? So that's what I have. I wanted to read really quickly. We got a comment from Stacy in Winslow, Arizona. Stacy, thank you for your comment. Stacy says sometimes a softer message speaks louder than having hell and damnation screamed in your face. And that was from Stacy in Winslow, Arizona. And Stacy, thank you so much for that comment. Did you want to respond to that, Tom, before we go?
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I just think we need thoughtful Christians. So well said. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. Sometimes and mind you, I'm not saying that there isn't a place for hell and fire, brimstone. I will almost say we need more of that because so many people are washing down the gospel till Jesus is just a healer, a provider, a Santa Claus, and forget that he's also a judge, and we forget that one day we will be judged for the things that we've done. You know, whether it's he said that, so I don't know where we're missing that at. You know, and he said we judge for everything. So we forgot about that. But sometimes the message right now needs to be a little more clearer, but you don't have to be so brutal. Some Christians have been quite brutal to it. You know, I have enjoyed myself, Tom, having you on the show. And what I want to do in the few moments we have left, I always want to encourage our authors who are listening to the sound of our voices that if you want to be on this show, you got to pick up the pen and write. If you don't write anything, how can I even have you on the show? So go ahead and encourage those authors out there whom God has given the gift to write to go ahead and do so.
Absolutely. Parker, I really enjoyed being on the show with you too. And I just want to say this, God has called each one of us to certain themes and genres, and we need to pick up the pen and we need to learn what those are, and we need to stay faithful to what God is calling us to write. I think it's also important to read widely, and that may mean not just reading Christian books. And I think it's really important to get yourself involved in a writers group where people are honest and helpful, and most of all, where other writers understand what you're trying to do and understand how to help you with it. And don't let rejection discourage you. Use rejection and learn from it. Writing is really worth it, and especially if God is calling you to say something today. It's really important to get going with it.
Tom, thank you so much for being with us on the show today. I had a fabulous time, and I can't wait to have you back real soon.
Thank you, Parker. Oh, I look forward to coming back anytime soon. That'd be fun. And it was great to talk with you today. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too, Thomas. Make sure you eat and eat well.
Okay. Thank you, I will.
And we were talking today to Thomas Albaugh. He is the author of the book Apocalypse TV. It is available on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Go ahead, Loving My Brother, and get a copy of that today. Make sure you leave a review as well. Let him know that you enjoyed it. You can also reach out to him on Twitter. His handle is Tall BAUGH1. That's Tall BAUGH1. And website is thomasalba.com. So make sure you join him there on his social media, sign up for his newsletter so you can keep up to date with his new projects coming up, and let him know if you have any questions or anything, because he also teaches about writing. So if you have any questions, let him know about that as well. Thank you so much for joining for this edition of The Right Stuff. I am the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J., and you have a wonderful, absolutely glorious, and let me tell you too, happy Thanksgiving, blessed day. Thank you for joining us for this edition of The Right Stuff. Follow Parker online at parkerjcole.com. To hear this show and other shows, visit the show archive at therightstuffradio.wordpress.com. We'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.